we could go and start then. The first one, so I don't forget. How about the minutes for April 9th? Are we okay with those?
Yes, I have no issue at all.
And I am too. And Bill, was that the one you weren't at that, or you were at
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I wasn't there, Dick, so I'll abstain. I wasn't, I had conservation that night.
Okay, so Colleen, since Lee and I both agree with it, then we'll accept those minutes.
Okay,
Um, before we go into it, there are 3 septic designs. The first one is Alan Weiss at 559 Amherst Road. That is, if you're coming from South Hadley Center, that I think is the last house before, on the right, before you turn into Aldrich Street. It is a 100 by 100 lot, but the back of the lot is really like 15 feet or 20 feet from the house, drops down at about a 45-degree or steeper angle down to the Bachelor Brook. It's a 3-bedroom house, the complete system, the fees paid, the review is complete. It's where the level part of the lot is cleared. It's small, a 1/4 acre. Alan was fixing it on the drawing that he's got it listed as 6.8 acres. Level along the street, slopes very steeply down to the east, to the rear, to the brook. Deep stands, no groundwater, water table, got city water. Very little area that prevents the use of trenches here. The issues are the limited area, the very, very steep down to the rear, small setback from the street. The house is pretty close to the road. The design that Alan has is due to the very steep slope. The system, some kind of system, right now is in the back, and the system is moved from the rear to the front. Alan was really concerned about working back there. Design is for 1,500 gallon 2-compartment septic tank with no outlet filter. The SAS is 1 leach tank gallery, so it's a 350 gallon leach trenches. In theory, it's formed basically a bed that's 10 feet by 40 feet with 24-inch effective depth. There is no D-box, it goes straight out from the tank. No vents. Fill is not required. He's got 444 gallons a day provided versus 440 needed. The reserve area isn't provided. 5-foot water table separation is provided. The house plumbing must be relocated from the rear to the front. The existing, what Alan's doing is, rather than try to work back there and take a chance at collapsing the bank or going into the foundation, the existing septic tank is going to be pumped and filled with, we call it flow fill. It's a concrete, a loose concrete. An issue that he's got a 5-foot separation, SAS separation from the front lot line at the street to the SAS, and a 10-foot separation to the foundation. And he thinks that he's probably going to have to sleeve the water, the drinking water line coming in. The discussion that Alan and I had about similar houses where that we put plastic along the foundation when it's a 10-foot separation. And Alan is just really afraid to try to dig in this really loose band up against the foundation and the street, and so his feeling is the sand is so coarse that he's not going to have any horizontal flow of that water. It's just going to go right down, straight down into the ground. And I'm guessing it could be correct. The issues are the trench permit, the plumbing permits required, then the talk about the front lot line separation and the foundation separation. So it's open to Lee and Bill. kind of a nasty
Um,
little spot.
Dick, why is he not using an effluent filter if he only has one trench?
I don't know that. We can ask him that.
Yeah, why don't we recommend he put an effluent filter in there?
Okay.
Be good protection.
Lee, what are your thoughts?
Do we know, or does Alan know what dimensions that a state highway has as far as, onto the adjacent property?
I think on his drawing, let me see it. He showed the lot line, and I can't tell you whether he's got pins. Let me see if I can find it. Because it definitely, he's got the, of course, I'm having trouble finding that particular drawing. I've really got,
Yeah, sometimes those highway right-of-ways encroach onto people's property fairly significantly from time to time.
he's definitely got circles shown, but he does not on his drawing. Yeah, you want at a 5-foot separation, he needs surveying, right?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, Dick. If it's tight sneakers, it might be prudent to have a land surveyor go out there and figure out what's really going on.
Yeah,
Well, I just don't want any contractor, to get pinched for working on potential state property.
yeah.
That's right. Without their knowledge, they might say fine, but at least we need to notify, we got to find out what's going on before we jump on this one.
Okay, so we've got both. We've got the effluent filter and the survey.
Yeah, that's good. Yep.
Okay.
Good call there, Lee.
Okay, the next one is also Alan Weiss. This is lot 4A. This is a LaFlamme property on East Street. This is in front of the solar farm. And new construction, 3-bedroom house, complete system, fee is paid. At this point, it's mainly a cleared lot, 1-acre lot, sloped down diagonally. So if you're looking at the house, it's diagonal going from the left front corner to the back right corner. Deep fine sand, we've got 30 inches and 36 inches for oxides. The issues are shallow to groundwater and the slope. The design is for a 1,500-gallon 2-compartment tank with no outlet filter. You've got 3-foot by 40-foot by 12-inch effective depth terrace trenches. Fill is required. Again, 444 gallons provided versus 440 needed. Reserve area is between and adjacent to the trenches. You've got 5-foot water table separation. Ballast is not required for the septic tank. The SAS and septic tank separation to the wetlands and wells is more than 100 feet. The well is more than 100 feet from any septic system. For discussion items are trench permits and fill requirements. What are our thoughts here?
Dick, that lot was reconfigured, wasn't it?
I don't know that one's been
Yeah,
reconfigured.
because this one, it's, how far is the house from East Street? Is it within 100 feet of East Street?
I don't think so. I think it's further than that, but,
Okay, because I know that, I think Dakota Richards was involved with that one.
let me take a quick look at this one. That one, Bill, I'm looking at the street. I'm just going back from the well. The well looks like it's about 50 feet off the street. And then from the well to the house looks like it's about 70 feet. So I would guess the front of this house is about 120 feet from the street.
Okay, so that was okay, because Devin Stamborski's house is to the south and to the east, I believe. So this is
That's
a
the one
second.
that's well under construction?
That's right. Yeah, it's actually done. That house is completed. Okay, this is another. Okay, I know the property then. That's fine. No worries there.
Okay.
You got a big system. That's fine.
And Lee, how about with you?
Yeah, I don't see, any issue here at all.
So that one is Colleen will be approved with trench permit requirement and still requirement.
Okay,
The third one is Bob Sheehan, Lot 1, Chicopee Street. This one is if you're going from Carver Street and take a left on I guess I said it was School Street, but it's Chicopee Street. Yeah, School Street's way further down, but
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
Chicopee Street. And this one would be the last of the Shalosky lots on the right. It's actually an estate lot, so it's in back of the other houses. It abuts the wetlands are on the north of that lot.
Yeah, yeah.
New construction. It's designed for a 4-bedroom house, even though the owner is only putting 3 in, but we had a discussion about putting in, and he's got an unfinished bonus room. So they decided just build it for 4 to start. A complete system, the fee is paid, the design is complete. It's a cleared 2.2 acre lot, level, deep stands, no groundwater or water table, wetlands to the north. The well is installed. That's the one that we let the well go in. The issue
Oh, yeah.
is the wetland. The design is for a 1,500 gallon 2-compartment tank without an outlet filter. 3 foot by 36 foot long by 24-inch effective depth trenches. Still isn't required. 559 gallons a day are provided versus 550 required. Reserve areas provided between and adjacent to the trenches. 5-foot water table separation. This is a really straightforward system. SAS and septic tank separation to wetland and wells more than 100 feet. The well is more than 100 feet from any septic systems. And the only discussion here is the trench permit. It's straightforward as long as they put it where it is. It's outside the 100-foot wetland buffer. What kind of discussion do we have on that one?
I can't see anything here, of concern.
Dick, have Bobby send it to Kathy Leonard just for a sign off on the conservation end. Shouldn't be a
Okay,
problem though.
Then let's make sure we say that.
Yeah,
Now, they're supposed to have to sign off on that anyways, on new construction, that they can't get the building permit without conservation sign off. Right?
yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. Now that we have Damian Cody, and I had a chat with him last week, I think he's on board. When we had the 2 part-time guys, things were kind of wishy-washy there for some time, but we've got a full-time guy now. So I think we'll get back to the same protocol that we had when Greg Briggs was on board.
Okay.
Which is good.
Yes, it is.
Gentlemen, this is Bob Sheehan. Regarding this lot, Bill, the Conservation Commission has already approved this lot a number of months ago.
Okay, if you could just send me the correspondence on that, Bobby, so I can just double check that. Thank you.
Okay, I will
Okay,
do that.
thank you.
I'm
Okay,
sorry
thank
to
you.
interrupt here.
Okay, no worries.
Okay,
No
that's fine.
worries.
That's what we were talking about, because because we did approve it, Bob, and subject just to the trench permit requirement, and now Bill has just asked that you send them the details, so.
I will have Alan, I'm sure Alan has that correspondence.
Yep, that'll be great. Thank you. Just trying to double check here, Bob. Bob, thank you. Good to hear
Sure.
you. Hope you're well. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, nice hearing from you guys. Take care. Everybody have a good evening. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It looks like Lynn is here.
No, that Lynn's not coming. That's not our,
Okay, so we'll keep going then. So the next one, we've got Bobby done already, so we've got Alan Weiss who's not here yet. We've got, let's go then, the issues that we can go through. I've got Colleen's timesheet for April 20th, the standard 70 hours for the 2-week period. Are we okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good, Dick.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. As I was looking for stuff for the septic system, I had everything in order, and I've lost our money turnover. Oh, here it is. Got it. Our money turnover, the payments to the treasurer for this meeting, $2,285. Of that, we've got $1,575 for Board of Health permits. We've got $260 for Board of Health licenses, $450 for Board of Health fees. And that's it. And that totals the $2,285. Are we okay with that?
I'm
Yes.
good with that, Dick. Thank you.
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
okay.
The next one that we have, I guess we're gonna have to wait on Bill Lincoln until he comes in for an installer's permit. We'll have to come back to that one. The next one we have is the temporary food license for the Church of Christ, tag sale food booth on the common, like May 25th. Are we okay with that one? Women of Church of Christ. Now,
I'm
this
good.
one would be one that Lynn has to inspect.
Yes, she usually goes to that one. Yep.
Bill and Lee, are we okay with this one?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes,
I am too.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
the next one is retail food sales at the wine house. A yearly one. Are we okay with that? It's interesting, though, I will say, we've had a complaint with this about being dark and not being able to get to the toilets and being dangerous outside.
Yeah, Colleen, did we have someone wrote something, a patron of that facility wrote a letter to us?
Yes, she called me and I think, she was on a cane, using a cane, so it was harder for her to get around. And she said where the Sandy cans were, she was very unhappy that there were just Sandy cans and not in a regular bathroom, but she had to go outside in the dark and it wasn't very well lit. She said it wasn't a long walk, but it just wasn't lit up very well, and to use the Sandy can. So yeah, that's what her complaint was.
You know, what I see, Dick, driving by there is I see 2 Santa cans. One, I believe, has the sink. One does not have the sink. And what's Jim's schedule in putting in a leach field there? Has he submitted a design yet?
Oh, he hasn't. Colleen, my suggestion right now would be to approve the retail food sales permit. So he's in compliance, but to
Yeah.
ask Jim to come in at our next meeting again. Because he
Okay,
was gonna get back to us. Now that we've got people that, well, two things happening. The scope of the operation is going up, and we've got a complaint.
Yeah.
Bill, what do you think, and Lee?
What was the complaint? Was it Americans with Disability Act related or not, Colleen?
well, she said she was using a cane and it was hard for her to get around.
Hmm.
And so she was not happy that she had to walk outside and it was rather dark, getting to the Sandy cans.
Yeah, Jim's got to be very careful there. Dick, in my opinion, Jim's got to show significant progress toward putting in a leach field and a regular toilet system at that facility before he gets too many more complaints, because he can really get into trouble with the state on this.
So do we?
No, I'd continue him at this point, but bring him in next meeting, and he's got to
I
get
think so
cracking.
too.
Yeah, he's got to
With
get
his-
cracking. He's got to do a perk test and get cracking on this.
His plan, well, he
Yeah,
was talking about a
certainly.
structure, right? Wasn't he talking
Yeah, I
about?
think you talked to him. He said he was gonna get back to us. Now we've got the complaint. And we've just started to increase the scope of the operation. That certainly on when we talk to him, it seems reasonable that if he's gonna be operating when it's dark, it has to be lit. And if it's an issue with footing that's terrible, let him put some wooden platforms in or something that he can do things immediately to fix some of it and then get working on the bigger problem.
Yep, yeah, his hours such that in the summer months, he'll be only open during daylight hours, or will he be open during darkness?
I don't know that.
Yeah, plus I think he's increased his parking lot significantly. From what I could see, he can probably carry 100 cars in that parking lot right now.
Are we gonna get back to this? Are we going to approve the retail food sales and let Lynn inspect this?
Yes, my only concern is that the retail food, comes out of an approved source. In other words, I don't want to see, in my way of thinking, I don't want to see saran wrap, surrounding, somebody's homemade brownies or cupcakes or cookies or whatever,
Right.
that just say 50 cents and doesn't say anything else about dates, ingredients. You know where I'm coming from on this thing.
In fact,
He's got those food trucks coming in, Dick. Are all the food trucks approved?
So far, I think they've been approved, but we've got another one tonight to talk about. But this one, I thought I saw, I don't have it with me, but I thought somewhere on the permit on this one said whoopie pies and something else, which sounds like the same woman that we already talked about, saying unless this is a certified kitchen with ingredients and this thing can't be sold, and now all of a sudden it shows up here. But my hope, Lee, is that Lynn is our mechanism to look at this to find out if he's in compliance with the regulations.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they got that information about the labeling and whatnot. And he said, yes, he was getting this license because she's already been in there on the food establishment license. And now with this license, he was getting it so that he could offer those cookies and whoopie pies. But the labeling instructions and everything went out to them on that. So
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a co-responsibility on the part of the vendor to adhere to the regulations and our requests and not give us the blind eye that I did not know or I forgot. I hope that's not what we're heading into. Because if it is, it's not gonna be a good working relationship with any business, not just this one, anybody. They have to do it right from the beginning, or they should not be doing it at all.
So in terms
Yeah.
of this one, are we gonna grant this license? If we don't grant it, then we cause lots of troubles. I suggest.
Well, how long are we granting it for, Dick? How many months are we granting this license for?
This is for the year.
Well, does it make sense not to grant it for a year, just grant it for a shorter period of time? No, I'm just
Or-
afraid. I'm just afraid that we're not going to get this septic system ironed out in a timely fashion.
Yeah, okay, good point. Yep.
Yeah,
Good
yeah, because
point.
if we grant it for a year, then they can kind of drag their feet for another year on the septic system. Then Jim's going to get even more. I don't want Jim to get complaints on this Santa can stuff. And people are not going to like this, believe me.
Well, the people complaining about the Santa cans, and then Lynn or us, potentially having mislabeled products for sale.
Mhm.
It's a bad combination of non-compliance.
Yeah, but we have to have some leverage over.
We want to do this to July 1st, just so we get everything settled out. We don't have to charge them again.
That's right.
If we extend it, but we do this as a temporary to July 1st.
That'll be fine. I'd be fine with that.
How about, what do you think, Lee?
No, yeah, I mean, I want to work with everybody here to have everybody be successful and have a good relationship. And absolutely, I think the July 1 midpoint scorecard is reasonable for all parties concerned. And in between then and now, we're going to hear from the owner as well as Lynn to see what we're going into. And we need to have that discussion in 2 weeks about the facilities for the patrons. And safety
Okay.
is
Okay,
That's
so
right.
that's what
That's
we're
right.
gonna do, Colleen.
That's
We're
right.
we all agree it's gonna be July 1st, the temporary permit.
Okay,
And
Okay.
so he's not all concerned when we extend this for the rest of the year, we won't ask him for another fee.
That's right.
right.
That's
Okay.
good. That's good.
So now our time, we've got, Alan, we approved the Flam lot, and that was just subject to the trench permit and, fill requirement. Alan, I should have acknowledged that you're here. Hello, Alan, how are you? Maybe
Good.
Alan isn't here.
I'm here.
Maybe he's not.
He's
there he
walking.
is.
He's walking.
Yeah, I had to go check something in the oven. I'm fine.
Okay, so I just said that we approved the lot 4A, La Flam, and that was subject to the trench permit and the fill requirement. The one we had two issues on 559 Amherst Road. One of them is Bill suggested that given that whole situation that we'd like you to require an effluent filter on the tank.
That's not a problem.
And the next one, Lee brought up with the 5-foot offset from the front line to the SAS. is that lot, are those bounds that you've got shown on your drawing, are those fixed, their pins? Or does this lot need to be surveyed?
No, this was surveyed. This was taken from a survey from a registered land surveyor. It is pinned. It was done by Randy Iser. And, yeah, it is pinned.
So it is. Lee, does that meet your concern?
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought, for whatever reason, I thought state highways had a lot of, ownership on both sides of the street. You know, from center line, I thought they were.
Yeah, they
40
typically do. They typically encroach on people's property on state highways. That's a typical situation, yes.
So, there is no pavement, of course, within the pins of this property. This is a registered, survey done by, for Mrs. Watson. The pavement is some 10 or 15 feet beyond that property line.
It is a registered surveyed lot, then we should be safe, right?
Well, again, on 116, which is a state highway, the state work zone typically extends onto people's property. However, the likelihood of them in doing any other work inside of the existing pavement is unlikely, but it could happen. But that's something you got to ask Ed Chapdelaine about, or Iser. That kind of gets into a sticky point with these work zones.
Yeah, in this case, there's no natural gas, there's no drainage piping, there's no nothing in that corridor.
Are there any shrubs? Are there any shrubs bordering the property line, Al?
No.
The hydrants are on the other side of the street, I think.
Okay, so the edge of your leach field to the property line is shown how many feet?
5 feet.
5 feet, that's right.
5 feet, okay.
Another 10 or 15 feet, beyond that, maybe even 20. I don't have edge of pavement, but,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
well,
Only guy that would-
only thing I can recommend is make sure the leach field is on this person's property.
Oh, no question. Yeah, that's why I went with a registered land survey. on this.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it
I
looks
don't
like
want
what
to
we are gonna require though, Alan, is for you to put the effluent filter.
No.
So that gets you out of here, Alan.
You want to get rid of me already?
Sure.
I'm doing one thing just because he asked. I'm on Google Earth right now, and I'm looking at the edge of the house to the pavement, which is 40 feet. And, when I look at the edge of the house to it's 15 feet beyond the property line to the edge of pavement. Thank you.
Okay, Al.
All right, Alan.
Good night.
Good to see you. Thanks, Al. All the best. Thank you.
Our next
Good luck,
appointment is Neil Jackson, and Neil is here. Neil, you were gonna come back with something that for 15 Griswold Circle, that you were gonna put some treatment system in and come up with a contract and something that and a sundown clause to it.
Right, so, Quabbin installed, oh God, I can't even think of the name right now.
Reverse osmosis.
He installed an ultraviolet system to treat for bacteria. So it gives you 7, 24, 365 treatment on the water. And he tested the water a few days after. Let's see, he tested it on 4/11, and it came back absent for bacteria and E. coli.
Okay, so Neil, prior to the UV system, it came back positive?
It came
Yes,
back
it did.
positive for bacteria, not for E. coli.
Dick, you know how you and I feel about UV systems.
Absolutely. What Neil just told us is not at all what he went away with an assignment. He was supposed to come back with a operating and maintenance schedule, a testing program to make sure that the system continues to work. Then it's going and have a period where it won't go beyond. So this is supposed to be something that says we're really making sure this continues to work because it's an add-on device that requires it to be functional to be safe, and it's not something that other than testing, you can't tell whether it's working or not.
Right.
So Neil is supposed to. This is not an easy kind of fix. This is kind of as Neil said, this was something to try to let the owners go a little while before they had to put the new well in, and that they were supposed to say that they understood that this was going to be the sundown part of this project that says it's going to go out for 3 years or 1 year. And if the house sells, they are going to immediately replace the well with a deep well. So there's a whole bunch of pieces that need to go together that are way beyond saying, oh yeah, I put it in and I checked it 2 days later and we're all set.
Right. So now does the board, I mean, Bill indicated the board has issues with the UV systems?
Well, UV systems are they're very touchy, Neil. If you have fogged tubes, if there's a problem with the tube itself, you got to be very careful with those systems.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, the problem with the RO system is you put an RO system and you don't generate that much water. You only generate a couple gallons a day. That's the problem.
Right.
Boy.
So I guess I need guidance by the board. What are you looking for? I mean,
I gave you that guidance, Neil. And I just summarized it here. You
right.
have to put
But
a system in place that works, a maintenance and preventive maintenance and testing. So there's a maintenance program contract that's got to be in there to maintain this thing. A testing program that says you're going to make sure it keeps working. And then there's got to be something that says this is only going to go for a certain length of time. That we agree that the well is going to be replaced for a deep well, and there'll be a written agreement saying if the house changes hands, that a deep well gets in. Those are the same things we talked to you about the last time.
right. But so could you give me guidance on the timelines you're looking for? I mean,
You could be looking at the equipment and saying that this is how. Oh, the testing.
Yeah, how many month interval, Dick? Do you want
right.
every 3 months?
The manufacturer ought to be coming back saying this is the proposal to make sure this thing keeps running. So we get this thing thrown back onto the manufacturer, a document that says, oh yeah, I'm selling you this thing, and this is what I'm telling you it's going to do, and this is what you have to do to make sure it keeps working. And then when it doesn't work and someone gets sick, then you can go back and you can sue that company and sue the installer, saying, look at it, you guys did this, and you said it was going to work, and it didn't, and someone got sick. So they should be the ones that are telling you that. This is not the Board of Health that tells you that, other than the Board of Health says you need that kind of thing, because as Bill just pointed out, this is not a bulletproof forever kind of installation. This is not a root cause fix of solving this problem.
Okay, and as far as testing, I mean, I'll have Quab and Well come up with a maintenance agreement, maintenance, and but testing, what type of intervals? I mean, obviously, probably shorter intervals to begin with, and then longer periods if everything's
Maybe,
okay.
but again, you should be going back to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer should be saying, this is what you should do with our equipment.
Okay, so they will say what the testing intervals will be.
And they should be able to say that if you test at this rate, you should be safe with our equipment.
Okay,
But it has to be from them. They have to, this is not the kind of thing that you say, oh, Quabbin did it and they put it in, because Quabbin's not an expert in this thing.
no, I know. I mean, they're probably an expert in putting them in, but you're right. As far as operation, I'm sure you know.
You know what I would do, Neil? I talked to DEP water supply, not wastewater, but water supply at DEP, and they'll give you some guidance.
Okay,
I don't know who's in water supply these days. They keep moving people around. But if you talk to DEP water supply, tell them what you're doing. They'll give you a guidance document.
okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so
as of right now, they have clean water, but I
Good.
do agree that they have to do something.
So
So
yeah, you got a lot of TLC with those systems.
right, okay, and then once
Okay.
once we have that documentation, then you're going to come up with basically when you want a new well. I mean, I think they're going to need a little bit of time if they're spending $25,000 or whatever on a septic, that they're going to need a little time to come up with funding for the well.
we don't know that. We just don't know. We don't have any idea what their finances are. We don't have anything that we just don't know.
Okay,
So,
Yeah,
so
and
the
maybe we
kind
can
of
find
thing
out
that
what
would be
the
nice.
longevity of the system.
What, Lee?
I'm sorry to interrupt. What's the longevity of a system like that? 2 years, 4 years?
I would say longer than that if it's maintained properly.
Yeah, if you maintain it, you might have to change the tube every once in a while and clean things. Yeah, it would go on in perpetuity, but you got to maintain it. It's like anything else. It needs maintenance.
Right. Okay.
They've got this thing that they're going to be testing and spending money on it, and it would be nice if the homeowner, when you looked at this, Neil, and explained to them, this is the board's looking at this as a Band-Aid fix.
Okay. Yeah.
And we want to make it safe, but it's still a Band-Aid fix. This is not a root cause fix. And if they were to come back and say, you know, we really need 3 years. If we can make this thing run for 3 years, we'll live with this pain in the neck operation, but we'd like to get 3 years out of it. They would then, in effect, set their own time frame instead of the Board of Health doing that.
Okay. That's fair.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay.
Okay.
So in the meantime, can they put in their septic system? I mean, they're pumping it pretty regularly. So, I mean, they have, again, it's a Band-Aid, but they've addressed the water issue.
My feeling would be that the well is not impacting the septic system, that we should be dealing with the health problem associated with the septic system, even though the well is part of, that's where it all shows up as a problem, but they ought to be able to fix their health problem. Lee and Phil, what do you think?
Well, yes, absolutely.
Phil, you look frozen there.
Yeah, no. Have them. Let's do the leach field with the proviso that he puts the UV system in with the appropriate safeguards. That's all.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. The UV system's in.
That
So
part, the well part isn't,
Alright.
Be careful,
And so
Bill,
just-
because you just said something that gave Neil permission to do something
No,
on the
no,
well, and
no,
that's
no,
not,
no,
that's-
but the
that's not
septic system,
ironed out yet.
the septic system is contingent upon the well and the well treatment, the water treatment system with the appropriate monitoring schedule. So it's all tied together. Everything's tied together.
Yeah, but Neil is asking to get the septic system in, and my feeling would be, is that it's regardless of the solution that we implement with the well, the septic system is the same septic system repair. So why can't we let him fix now we can, from our standpoint, if you're trying to put some teeth into, on our end of it, we cannot give the
Right.
certificate of compliance for the septic system. We can hold that up,
That's
but
right,
we can
until
still let
the
them
well
get,
is done. That's right,
Right.
that's
Right.
right. That's
That's
but
right,
we can let them deal with
That's
their
right.
health issues.
that's right.
Right.
The UV system is already in.
Yeah, the UV system's in and they're pumping every 2 weeks, so it's, I mean, it's not leaching at all, so very, very, very little. So they
All right,
can,
so we need the maintenance agreement.
before they can install?
We have to, Lee and Bill, we have to, again, my feeling would be hold them up on the certificate of compliance side,
That's right.
but let them get the system in. If we were in a spot that said, wait a second, that well, if we put a new well in, it's gonna be too close to the leach field and therefore we're putting in the wrong leach field. That's a different story. Then you can't move forward until you resolve the well. But if the well is not gonna impact the septic system, then I don't see a reason that we can't let that happen. Lee and Bill, and just not approve it until it's
So Neil, after the leach field's in, will you be able to maintain 100-foot horizontal separation with a new drilled well at a later date?
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, absolutely. It'd go right in the same vicinity as the present well,
okay.
which has 100-foot separation from all the other septics on the street also.
Okay.
Lee,
Okay,
what are you
so between-
thinking?
Well, between that information of having the separation, that Bill just pointed out, and getting the maintenance agreement from the manufacturer, and or DEP, then yeah, we get the septic system put in, which is bad, and tag that into the paperwork once the agreement is put in place with whoever does the testing. We get what we need to in a couple of weeks. I'm thinking that's what we're all looking at right now.
Yeah.
Neil, just jog my memory. What, in essence, in 10 words or less, what does the septic system consist of?
The present system?
No, the one you're going to be building, the leach field you're going to be building.
I think this was a bed. Let me just pull it out quick. Pretty sure it was, nope, it was 340-foot trenches.
Okay, so no nitrogen reduction.
Nope,
Okay,
nope. But it also has
They
a
did
reserve.
test the water bill for nitrogen and there's none in it.
No, it's 1% of the allowable.
okay, but we have bacteria.
Right.
Yes,
So the dumb question is, how far are the neighbors from this current leach field?
neighbors' wells are over 100 feet.
But the homeowner's well is also 100 feet away.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So Dick, the question I ask is, how do we know that the neighbors' wells aren't contaminated?
We don't, and that's what, when we've had this discussion saying this thing with the nitrogen, it's so screwed up with the state. We said we're not gonna go after it, but what we're gonna do is test the wells. And in reality, if you look at this property, this particular property, on that side, which is I'll call it the north side of Griswold Terrace or Griswold Circle,
Yeah.
that this one, the system is away from the houses. There are no, the back lot line of this one goes against what's headed towards the wetlands. So if you look at the water table gradient there, it should be moving to the north, away from everybody's house.
So, but why is this person's well contaminated with bacteria?
We don't know what the reason is. That's what
Yeah,
the,
well,
that's why-
my thought is, and it's kind of a backwards logic, is that the nitrogen reduction system would also provide additional safeguards against bacterial contamination as well because of the additional treatment. But
yeah, but we don't know that there's something in the ground. It's a shallow well. It's
oh, I
probably-
know, it could be some rodents in the wellhead. Yep, absolutely.
But we went through this thing still, and as a board, we went from saying we're gonna deal with this nitrogen thing on repairs, and we said it was just impossible to go after, and the state was not being very clear
Yeah,
about
I know.
what they were doing, and that's why, in fact, you came up with the suggestion that we look and see if the well was, just look and see if this well was being contaminated with the
Yeah,
nitrogen.
yeah. Now, are there other projects on Griswold Circle? Any other repairs coming up or have come up in the last 6 months?
Right
Well, we
next
just-
door to it.
Yeah, well, 2 houses down. We just did one at 11.
Okay, did you test their well for bacteria?
Well, they actually ended up putting in another well because I think it was a point well and it was rusty, so they were getting brown water.
Okay.
So, because they had a family move in, and before that it was one older woman, so she wasn't using a lot of water.
Dick, I'm just thinking these shallow wells on that street might be a big problem for everybody.
I think they are. That's why when we talked about this thing, we said this is a Band-Aid and it's not what we should be dealing with. But that's why putting something that's got a timeline that says, okay, at the end of 3 years, we'll put all this thing in place that quite frankly should be kind of a pain in the neck to make sure you're safe. This
Yes.
is not a, pay your price once and say it's good forever. We know it's not. And
Well,
so
how many homes are in this neighborhood?
20?
A dozen?
Well, I
Oh.
think more than that, but say 20.
I just hope others with shallow wells aren't drinking bacteria-laden water. That's the concern I have.
Unless you're gonna go and force everybody with a private well to get their water tested
Yeah.
and we
Yeah, and
do
again,
know,
Yeah, we don't have any money for that. The town doesn't have money for that. That's the problem.
and water is, according to the state, water is your responsibility on your house. You're responsible for your water.
Yeah. Would it not make sense to at least notify the others on the street that you would recommend that they get their water tested, even though they don't, but at least recommend to them?
We certainly, Lee, what
You know,
is your thought? Mine is that we've got information and it's not hard information, but we've got information from one of the water from Quabbin that said that after the rains last year, they were getting, especially shallow wells were getting contaminated, and maybe that it is prudent for us to tell people on that street that you live on a street with small lots and you know, dense use, and that we've got some information from last year that the rain could be contaminating shallow wells, and we've got one lot that the data says that the water was contaminated with bacteria, and we suggest that it would be prudent to test.
Yeah, because Neil, that UV system is short money. Those are not expensive.
Yeah, I think it was like $2,500.
Well, yeah, that's retail. I think wholesale, they're a lot less than that. But
Oh,
the
yeah.
point is, that you're right. If we send them a letter, again, a lot of these people are probably totally ignorant of this fact. They're probably stockbrokers or faculty members or something up there. But again, if we at least say, by the way, you might want to have your water tested. If they choose not to, that's fine, but at least advise them you might want to get your water tested. And if they do, for $2,500, they can get a UV system to hold them over for a few years. I think it's just good. It's just good policy on our end.
Do we?
I don't know.
No,
We
that's
certainly-
a point well taken.
Yeah, we certainly could look at. You could look at this development because they're all kind of in the same situation physically. And do we then, anybody that we know or come up against or encounter, not against, but encounter with a shallow well, do we send them the same letter and say, we advise you to do that? But for sure, this whole neighborhood is in the same thing. Little lots with shallow wells in
Yep.
sand
Yep,
that don't filter very well.
that's right. That's right.
So Colleen, can you give a draft so I can, or Bill can, why don't we have Bill draft the letter with you offline and you can send it out?
Okay.
I can work with Colleen on that, Dick. That's fine. Thanks.
Is that, Lee, is that what you feel too?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we do that.
All right. Your 7:40 appointment is waiting, so you know.
Okay. Mr. Lincoln,
Speaking.
okay, I'm Dick Bombardier. We've got Bill Shaheen and Lee Lalonde. And on every new installer that comes to work in the town, we make it a point of talking to them beforehand and try to understand your credentials and experience and try to have you understand a little bit about the Board of Health and our relationship with you as a person with a license and how you support the people that we're here to protect. So
Absolutely.
do you have a business?
Yes, yep. No, I have a small excavation business that me and my father do. We're just small, it's just two of us, and I've got some retired guys that give me a help every once in a while when I need it.
What kind of equipment do you own?
We have a small single axle dump truck, and we got a PC50 excavator, and we actually just upgraded. We had a Hitachi 120 and we ended up trading it in, and we're getting a Kobelco 75. It should be here any day now. So that's exciting. Got a roller.
How long have you been, well, first of all, do you install septic systems?
Yeah, this is, we're going on the second year of the business. Me and my father have been doing a lot of side work growing up, and it was just time to go try something. I've been bugging him for years and years, and finally he was in a position where he's like, "Yeah, let's go try it, kid." So we're out there doing it on our own now. But yeah, no, we've installed some septic systems. I mean, I've probably installed, well, I don't know, 6, 7 systems, and he's got a bunch of them under his belt. He's been doing it a while. He was actually a union operator for 98 before giving me a hand. So,
How many systems do you think he installed, that he was responsible for installing?
I'd say probably a dozen or so.
Lots, not lots and lots of
No,
systems.
we try. I mean, you know, we're all over the place with what we do as far as, you know, complete sites for new homes and doing a lot of small stuff, culverts and stuff like that. You know, whatever we, you know, doing it on the side, it doesn't leave a whole lot of time to do a ton of jobs a year, you know. But
Yeah.
but we've done our share.
Now, what communities have you operated in, Mr. Lincoln?
So we're out of Cummington. Did my own in Cummington, and we do a lot of work in Berkshire County. A couple in Cheshire, Adams, North Adams, Clarksburg. We do a lot of work on that side of the hill, but we seem to be gravitating towards the little bit easier digging, nicer.
Yeah, because the towns you mentioned, it's all rocky terrain from what I can recall.
Yes, it is. No, my house that we built a couple years ago, it's on frost walls with a heated slab because there was no chance to get a basement there. So
What do you
there's
use-
a lot of rock
what
and
do
a
you
lot of
use?
ledge.
What do you use to shoot grades?
We have a David White laser, and actually we've been having troubles with the thing shutting off on us. So we picked up a new Milwaukee one. We're gonna try it out because it's nice to have all the same batteries, you know. But the David White's been a very good laser. We're actually sending it out to get fixed because we like it so much. So they must have got out of the market because I can't seem to find one anywhere online, the David White. But,
Yeah. Where'd you learn to read print?
from my father, and he's a pretty sharp man. You know, he's been doing it a long time. But yeah, no, just
What
doing
was
it
he,
with
when
him.
you said he was doing it a long time, what was he doing a long time that he was using print?
What do you mean, as like septic systems and
Well,
house
you said
plans?
he's been doing it a long time. Did he run jobs? Did he, you know? did
Yeah, so
find jobs?
he worked a lot with a gentleman that he worked with at Warner Brothers, and he was kind of his go-to guy, as in, you know, the guy was all over the place, you know, running around with his head cut off trying to get all the laborers to do their things, and he'd hand him a set of prints. I can remember all growing up, we'd be riding around the pickup when there's a set of prints on the dash, because the foreman would actually trust him with a set, you know. And
What kind of prints of what?
I don't know, rebuilding roads, I remember there was a big washout, I don't know how long ago, 10, 12 years ago now, rebuilding the roads and setting catch basins, and, you know, just drawings of
Yeah. What do you do?
So your dad was a member of Local 98?
Yes, he was. Yep.
And
He
what was
still
his
is. He's
position?
still a member.
And what was his position at 98? Was he an operating engineer or laborer?
He
What
was
was
an
he?
operating. He was an operating engineer, correct?
Okay.
Well,
Do Phil, when you gotta a drawing and you start on a job, and you start in there and you start digging, and you find out what you thought you were going to see when you look at the drawings isn't what you're seeing. What do you do?
Well, we call the engineer. We call the engineer and say, hey, we have underlying condition of whether it's ledge or it's buried rubbish or something that's not supposed to be there. Call up the engineer and say, hey, this is what we found. You might want to come out here for a site visit so we can rethink things. That's all.
Well, that I can tell you there's more to it than that. And
Well,
that's
yeah.
certainly not when you're on that machine. If you're working in the town, you're the one with the license, period,
Right.
to do that job. And you're the one with the responsibility, even though you've got a design, you're the person that's putting it in the ground in compliance with the state law.
Absolutely.
But,
Yep.
but so part of this is, one, saying you might want to come out here isn't a good enough answer. That it's that you've got to stop. But the other
Right.
is the
Absolutely.
Board of Health oversees this stuff. And the Board of Health has to be involved when we've approved a design that says this is what's there, that's what's going in. The Board of Health needs to be involved, not just the engineer, and not because he might want to come out there, because quite frankly, the way you have to work with us, we all have to work, is that we have to work as a team. And when stuff heads south and someone finds out you didn't put it in the way it's supposed to, or when Lee comes and inspects, he can't see what's underground, what's buried, and we found out that it's not what's supposed to be there. You really don't want, when that homeowner takes you to court, you
Yeah,
don't
right.
want his lawyer to be calling the Board of Health as a witness against you. You need to
Right.
be saying the Board of Health is fully involved with this, and the installer, the engineer, and the Board of Health are all involved to make sure this complies with the regulations. We say this to every single person that gets a license in this town. My concern right now is I don't think you have very much experience, and that we're talking about giving you a license that you can be doing a lot of stuff in town as much as you want, and unless someone catches something going wrong. Lee and Bill, I'm and sometimes in cases like this, what we do is give a provisional license that allows you to get started on a project, and Lee or Bill, really looks after you, or we make an engineer do more inspections than normally would be done. There are other times that we've had people work with another installer, but I guess the safest way is probably for you to tell us when you're ready to be installing a system, and we give you a license to do that system, and have the engineer on the job talk to us about it and tell us that they're going to really inspect it and make sure that the things are going the way they designed it.
That's
Right.
what I would
No, I
do,
can.
Dick. Have the engineer do supplemental inspections. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, I understand how, yeah, we don't have we haven't done 100 septic installations, but we have done septic systems, right? We have a union operator that's been, in the business for a long time. He's not He's not some fly-by-nighter. He, you know, we've done it before. We have a septic installation license in Berkshire County, so we can install in every town in Berkshire County. We've held the license for, I mean, I've had mine for 4 years now, and he's had his. I couldn't even tell you.
When
you
it
know,
all
and-
comes
and
down
he-
to it, you've got 6 or 10 systems, not many systems. In an environment
Right. So where do you?
as you
So where do you
better-
start? Where do you start? You know what I mean?
well,
Like,
that's what I'm suggesting that we say, okay.
everyone's got to start somewhere. You know.
Right,
So,
right, but you don't start without someone knowledgeable making sure when you start that it's done right. And so that's where I'd come from, is to not stop you from starting, but to ensure that the person that you're working for, in fact, gets a system that complies with the regulations. And I believe you're the guy, Lee, that's in the field most
Yep.
of the time. What is your thought?
Well, Bill, can you share with us, what system, well, do you have a system in mind to work on, or is this just a general license?
yeah. So, yeah, I have a client on. They're on. Let's see here. I can tell you exactly where they're at. They're on Amherst Road.
That's Cindy Watson.
That I'm yeah,
Cindy.
Cindy Watson. Yep. At 559 Amherst Road.
That's the one that we
There's
just
a
discussed
spot-
with Alan.
Right. So yeah, we did a perk test there, and you know, they're a potential client of mine. They seem, you know, very happy. And when I talk to them, they, you know, they're like, "Well, you're very knowledgeable. You seem like you know what you're doing." And you know, I wouldn't steer them wrong. I won't. I'm not out there to, you know, put bad work. I'm not out there to take people's money, and I'm not out there to go to court over not doing good
That
work.
one, Bill, just to give you an idea, Bill Lincoln as compared with Bill Shaheen. If you want to talk about places that are really, really, really different than digging in rocks up in the hill towns, there's
Yeah.
one. Because you've got a spot that's sand, you're next to a state highway, you're working deep in the soil within 5 feet of the front property line. You're within 10 feet of the building foundation with a deep system and sand that wants to move all over, with a public water supply line running within 10 feet of your system that needs to have a sleeve on it. And in the backyard, you've got a bank that's not stable with a septic system, an old septic system that has to be pumped out and filled with concrete. So if you're looking
Right.
for a place that you can get in more trouble than you can ever imagine without knowing it, you just bit the bullet on that one. And so
Yep.
that's
It's-
exactly the reason that I would be saying, before this job starts, you have to have a meeting with the engineer on site, and he's got to agree to supervise what's going on. That's what my feeling would be, that in this case, we need to be trying to not only save everybody from a calamity here, it's to save you from getting in trouble too. So Lee, we're killing ourselves with time here. This is not Bill and Lee, just to
So-
give
so-
you an
so-
idea. We're now
So
we're
this is,
past date.
so Dick, this is Al Weiss's job, so we're gonna require, if we approve this, we're gonna require Al to be intimately involved with the construction, correct?
Yeah, Lee, what is your
Yeah.
thought?
No, I can absolutely work with Alan, of course, and with Mr. Lincoln. And I can make sure that on a regular basis, whether it's every morning, every night, or both, I can be on site if need be, within 5 minutes to help if I can with Mr. Lincoln, and of course, work with Alan Weiss in whatever capacity I can do to be of assistance.
I think we should be careful, and the responsibility is with Mr. Lincoln and Alan, not with the
Yeah.
Board of Health.
That's right.
And that the safe part, the designer here is Alan, and starting off with a kickoff so that everybody knows what, we've had enough discussion about this job with Alan.
Yeah.
And my proposal is to set this up that we only give a permit for this. We don't have to increase the fee for the rest of the year, but we do a permit for this one job, and that we put, as Bill's saying, that Alan has to be on board, saying that he's going to be supervising this. I have no idea what the agreement has to be for, Alan doesn't work for free. So that this board can't direct Alan to do engineering for no money. But somehow that Alan and Mr. Lincoln have to be working close enough together that this job gets done in a safe way and in compliance with the regulations. But that's what I'm uncomfortable right now with this particular application. Bill and Lee, what do you think?
Can we get Alan on the phone now to chat about this, or is that not possible, do you think?
They don't have the mechanism to.
It's 8:15. We have an appointment at 8:15, I believe, folks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk. Let's maybe Colleen has opportunity. She can reach out to Alan in the morning and get him on board to our discussion and concerns, and then we can go from there, if that's okay with the with all parties concerned.
My proposal is that we do exactly what you're saying, Lee, and to put this with the responsibility in the right place. That's with the installer and the designer, and that we ask both the installer that we table this application until the next meeting. Let Alan and Mr. Lincoln work together to come up with a plan of how this would get done, and get back to us and tell us how that's going to happen. And we work this at the next meeting. Lee and Bill, what do you think of that?
Well, was that going to put a crimp on the beginning? Mr. Lincoln, when was this project supposed to start?
I mean, the sooner the better. Their system is not working. They've had to have it pumped twice now. When the tank gets full, and I'd hate to put a burden on the homeowner.
I could expect something that says we do grant the permit for this job, but that we let Lee, because the board can't, because of the open meeting law, the two of us can't talk together outside the meeting.
Right.
Now, what we could do is, since Lee is the typical field guy, that Lee ensures that Alan and Bill Lincoln work together and set something up that Lee feels comfortable with, and we could then let this homeowner move on with solving the septic problem. Bill and Lee, what do you think of that?
I think that's
Different approach.
okay, Dave. I think that's reasonable.
Lee, what about you?
No, I agree. I will reach out to Alan. I'll text him something this evening or tomorrow morning and get everybody on board and get a, start date and share our concerns with Alan and make sure that he's on board with putting some extra time into this project, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, that way we can get this done. So we're gonna, the three of us are saying, Colleen, that we're granting this permit for this one job,
For the one job, okay.
for the one job. But if it goes for the rest of the year, he's paid for the permit for the rest of the year. But we make that decision after we see how this job works. So
Mhm.
that's what we've decided, but that Lee will end up being the one that needs to be satisfied in terms of the relationship between Mr. Lincoln and Alan.
Okay.
So that
So
way
with
it
that
can
being
move forward.
said, what do you and Bill think is a good, template for accomplishing this goal? So I'm clear I'm working, at the direction of the board on this and not my own imagination.
What I would be doing, and Bill can look at it also as a project manager, I would be going back, since we know Alan is a knowledgeable, experienced guy, that I would start off saying that we need the beginning meeting. That's the one where all three people are meeting face to face. At that meeting, since Alan's got the design, it's not a complicated, it's an execution issue, that Alan and Mr. Lincoln Lee determine what the appropriate spots, the milestones are that Alan should be involved to protect this thing from going afoul, so that you don't be the person that's running the job, Lee, that Mr. Lincoln and Alan have all of the skills and responsibility to run the job, but they actually have to write down what it is that they're going to have for milestones with inspection points. And Alan go over the drawing right there, saying these are the critical things, the danger points to watch for. That's the way I would handle it, and try to get it that your job is not the one to tell how to run the job. Yours is the one to make sure they follow their plan to run the job, but it's their plan. And you
Yeah,
just make sure that
I have no
they follow.
engineering background, as
Right.
everybody knows. I just am there as a witness, and a scorekeeper to make sure that the project is done in a orderly fashion with, the proper reporting, of progress and or
Right.
any issues that arise. Yeah, absolutely.
So that way the people, the knowledgeable people and the people with the licenses, Lee, are the ones that are managing it, and you just make sure they do what they say.
I
Is
get
that
it.
what you
Yep.
would do, Bill? Bill, is that how you would handle it?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Only thing operationally I'd like to add is that pumping the tank in the rear of the house and filling it up with flowable fill is going to be a challenging thing to do. So the Al and the contractor should think logistically how they're going to get that done in a expeditious fashion. That's a bit of a challenge.
It is a bit, and it is also, when you look at it, Bill, because it's a narrow lot, and say, how do you get, I don't know whether I'm gonna guess they're gonna have to pump it to get it
Yeah,
through there,
either
but
that or
people
they're gonna,
around here don't have that.
well,
because
that's
you-
right. Because if they hire a concrete pumper, that's extremely expensive. The other way to do it, I'm just thinking out loud, is to take a Bobcat, a wheeled or a tracked Bobcat, and fill up the Bobcat bucket with material and bring it around. Man, that's gonna be a time-consuming project.
There's 1,000 gallons of that stuff. back
Oh,
there,
yeah,
but as you said,
and you gotta make sure you don't encroach on the neighbor's property with the Bobcat, so
and
they
you
gotta,
can't.
think this out carefully.
Well, the other thing is you don't have any place for the sewage to go once you do it. So the whole front of this house is going to be set up so you can't get equipment across it.
That's
So
right.
you really have to get the tank in, but you can't put the tank in easily because you got that big hole in the soft sand. So I agree, Bill. Somebody's got to be thinking the thing through. But that's exactly why you can't take someone that used to dealing with 4-acre lots on a rocky hillside and do this. So Lee, I agree with Bill. That's what seems like a
Yeah, Bill,
simple
yeah,
little thing to do.
logistics is the name of the game on this. Logistics. Yeah.
So anyway, that's what Bill, if that's what Bill Lincoln, that's what we're saying. You can see that it's taken up a ton of our time tonight. And it's not an easy thing that you're doing. And it's unfortunately, it's not one that you're experienced with yet.
No,
So
I
that's how we're
understand your
gonna
concern.
handle it.
I understand your concern, and I see where you're coming from. And all these things that you guys have just gone over have already been considered. They've been talked about, and we have a plan for all of it. I wouldn't be here talking to you guys if I had one slight chance that I was anywhere nervous about being able to complete this job, because it's not the kind of person I am. And I really think that you guys will be surprised with the outcome, that us working with Alan and us working with you guys, it'll be a flawless procedure by the time we're done.
I sure hope so.
Beautiful.
Good.
I sure hope so.
Good to hear
Okay.
that.
I have 100% confidence, believe me.
All right.
So,
Okay.
All things are good. All right.
Our
Well, thank
next
you.
one, the 750 is canceled.
You guys
This is for
all set
show.
with me?
Yes, we are. Have a good night.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
okay, thank you, Bill.
All right, bye-bye.
Just in passing, this is Rochelle Lemieux on the camp toilets at 19 Kendall Street. Told Colleen, there is no camp there. No one's renting anything. There are no ads for this. As I mentioned to Colleen before the meeting started, when I drove by there's a sign there that says there is. And
And they're advertised as a hip camp or something on the internet.
that's right. So either we've got the wrong property, or the person that we asked to come in doesn't own it, or has got a different out, or someone's not telling the truth. But there's something when you drive by there, and all the things you see aren't consistent with the statement that it's not there. But as I mentioned to Colleen, and when I drove by it, it doesn't look like many vehicles have gone down the little access road with the sign on it. So, but
Well, should we try to rent a campsite or something?
you know what?
Where it's old?
That's a reasonable thing. Colleen, we'll give that for an assignment to you.
can't- Well, you can't unless you're paying for it online.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
you have to pay via PayPal or Verbo or one of those online. Yeah, it's an online deal, Dick. Yep. Totally online.
Can one of us, somebody try it and see if that's where it stops when it comes time that you can actually try to rent it. And then when you don't put in your credit card number, it kicks you out. At least it'll say, you know what, we went through the whole process other than to pay and we could do it. Who
I'll try
wants
it.
to try that?
Okay, Colleen, that's your assignment.
Well, I'll try it from the office.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
do
see.
it from the office.
Yeah. I'll see what
Tell-
happens.
Tell your husband you might be sleeping out in the woods some night.
Okay, the next thing that we've got is, Rich, oh boy, we're a half an hour late with Rich. Rich, you've been patiently sitting there and, it's your turn.
I've been listening to you.
Mhm.
So,
Dick, I have to excuse myself. Rich, good to see you again. I saw you at Conservation last week. I have to
Yeah.
excuse myself for 5 minutes. I will be.
Okay.
Rich, go ahead. Maybe we can let you start and then,
Okay.
or we can tell you, why don't we let you start and after you go in a little bit, we'll tell you where our stand is and then see how close everybody is of a common understanding.
Okay, good. Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your letter that you sent, I assume, to the select board. It was very powerful and it was a letter that we really appreciate. The reason I asked you to sign it was because the attorney for the gravel pit gave everyone the impression that because it was unsigned, they didn't have to, didn't have any importance. So that's the reason I had yours signed. I had the conservation Bill sign his. So I'm going to hand that in at the next hearing, public hearing. We're on hearing number 4 already, a continuation. So it's taking a lot of time. But I think the main thing that we wanted to know is, in your letter, you say, by this letter, the board is ordering that this permit not be approved. Now, what authority does the Board of Health have in as far as gravel pits go? I'm confused. We were confused about that because we looked at the bylaws and we couldn't find any for the Board of Health. I mean, is it my understanding that anything to do with health and safety, you have a say over? Is that the way it is?
The way that the state law is set up, Rich, it actually comes out that boards of health are probably the most powerful boards in the state in terms of their authority. Now, and we, in this case, if you look at the health and safety part of issues, we can order things, whether we end up having to go to court if the orders aren't followed. But essentially, they're really broad powers to protect the health and safety of the citizens of the state. So it's in many cases, they're not found. There are some that if you look at things like shooting ranges, there are some specific rules that say boards of health, you cannot go and say the noise from the shooting range is a public nuisance. That you know, it's got limits. But in this particular case, if it's using those powers, saying that we're looking at public health, so we defined issues that we said are what we believe are public health and safety issues. What you should know, though, and someone asked me last week. They said, gee, the Board of Health forbid the gravel pit from going on. The Board of Health didn't look and say the gravel operation is dangerous and you can't do that. You can't go ahead and establish that those are not within the Board of Health purview. So what the board did is say, these issues we are defining as health and safety issues. And we in fact did not say anybody has to look at those issues. What we said is that you can't approve the permit without understanding those issues and solving those problems. So that we didn't say you have to do that. It says if you're going to approve that permit, this has to be done. So you can't, our order says you can't go and approve this permit, not unless this stuff has been done. So for instance, if someone comes out and the Board of Health is not the group, but we've got, for instance, we've got letters that came in to us about noise. Noise was one of the issues that we talked about, but the board wouldn't be the group that says, we're listening to these doctors that sent information in, and the board said, okay, we're qualified to decide whether that doctor's opinion is a valid opinion. We're not. But what we would be doing is saying, as this goes on further, if it does in fact go, to say, is that are the proper peers, the proper engineers been involved to come up and analyze the potential problems and come up with the potential solutions? So we would get back involved because we said they have to be solved. So for instance, someone from the other side of your group, not your group, the opposite group of people.
The bad guys, the
So
dark
wait a
side.
second. They say, well, wait a second. We only want 8 trucks a day going in there. That's all that is. You guys are all wrong. And I said, well, in this particular case, we were very careful to say, this is how we came up with this conclusion that there'd be a truck every 8 minutes. So those numbers, someone can go after. But if someone said, hey, we're only going to take, our solution is there are only going to be 8 trucks going in there a day. And they say, well, that's not what that permit says. So you haven't, we've said that this is a problem. 40,000 cubic yards a year is a problem. And this is how we said we viewed it going in to look at maximum rate. And just coming up and saying, oh, the answer to your question is there's 8 trucks. Well, I guess that you could end up going, someone could say, you know what, we're modifying the permit so that the permit is for 8 trucks a day.
Well, let me ask you a question. If
that, in fact, may be a solution. Go ahead, Rich.
Let me give you an example. We're asking for a noise study or in decibels, okay? And the select board refuses to ask the applicant to pay for and hire a professional independent expert on any area to do certain studies. If you go down to the town hall, they have a folder there of every document that has been provided through the public hearing. Every document is our side. Not one document is from the applicant. So we're saying, how can anybody review what they did? They asked the applicant, well, how many decibels does a truck make? And the guy says, well, we think, I think it makes so many decibels. Well, I'm not sure, this and that. So there's no real proof of anything. Is that something you would look at?
Well, that's what we would end up before the whole thing would be done. We haven't met with the select board about and town council, because I'm guessing that I don't know about the select board, if they're like the Board of Health. We certainly don't want, the Board of Health doesn't want to go to court fighting the select board.
Right.
And I'm guessing the select board doesn't want to do that with the Board of Health. And I am guessing that town council is going to say, that's really a lousy idea. We really shouldn't be doing that. So in this case, what Bill likes to use the term peer review, that we have to come up with the proper people, an acceptable group of people, of trained engineers that said, you guys in fact are capable of understanding, of finding out how do you collect that data, what does it mean, how do you interpret it, and what needs to be fixed, what doesn't need to be fixed. There are some other issues in there that we've got. I've looked at the noise limits and the zoning rules. They're really terrible from an
Right.
engineering standpoint. They're just not very comprehensive. They're not. I'm not even sure how you would go about either defending them or attacking them in a court of law. They're so all over the place, and they're not defined very well. So I think you would ultimately, on a noise standpoint, you probably end up again going back to the health and safety side of it, and say that's going to end up being different than what it says in the zoning laws. But I think the board would end up being involved with choosing who it would be that would do the analysis and coming up with the conclusion, because it's not, as I said when we just started off, that
Dick, can I interject?
Sure you can, Bill.
Yeah, there's one technical problem with the noise study, because you're assuming what the situation is going to be. So the proper way to do it, they'd have to actually procure vehicles of the type that this operation would use. They'd have to actually set up a series of microphones, do the test runs, measure the noise, calculated the time weighted averages. I'm guessing it would be a $50,000 assignment to actually put this report together. That's my opinion.
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, Rich, are you guys in a position to spend $50,000 for a technical study?
We shouldn't do that. The applicant is responsible to do that, not us.
Okay, so did the select board say the applicant is obliged to do the study or
No.
not obliged to do the study?
They're not, they didn't say they're obliged to do any study. They just
That's
asked the
Bill, that's where
applicant.
it comes up. That's where Rich is correct at this particular point, is that the Board of Health has said that we've ordered that says they can't, again, we didn't say the study has to be done. We didn't say anybody had to do anything. What we did say is that we're ordering that the permit not be granted unless this stuff has been studied and rectified. So we didn't demand anybody do anything. We just demanded that the permit not be approved. It doesn't say our letter doesn't say do the permit conditionally on something. It says the order that we sent out says the permit can't be approved unless this stuff has been done.
So let me
Okay.
ask you this.
Okay, so the applicant would do the study and we would still have
We
to
don't know
vet.
that. We don't
No,
know
but the
that. Our
point is-
letter doesn't say that, Bill.
Yeah, the point is if the applicant hires a firm to do the study, I've known over my years doing forensic work that there's a pretty good chance that they're going to try to tilt the data in the favor of their client.
Right.
Okay. So it would be up to our board to vet their study to make sure everything is on the up and up when they do their study, if they do their study. You see what I mean?
Let me
In
ask you this
fact,
one question.
where you, Rich, I think you were involved in the landfill assignment. And
Right,
it would probably be a similar kind of thing that someone says that you have to, now on that particular one, we ended up not choosing the right things to say had to be studied, and it was a backroom agreement between lawyers that forced them to do the stuff that we didn't choose to do up front. So the stuff got done anyways, but it ended up that there was actually a hearing on that one, getting a presentation. There were different experts but I would guess it would be that kind of process. But as Bill's saying, if in a case, in that particular case, we were using High and Bond
right,
to be looking at their experts. So we had a reputable engineering company that would, since we weren't the landfill engineers and experts on that, or expert, as Bill is saying, on traffic. In fact, traffic was one of them. That you end up getting someone to do that as that gets further along. But at this point, it really says we're not at a point like we got letters from different people in town saying about noise or about we got one today, I think, about dust, I think, but we're not gathering that data. And in fact, if the select board were to say, that there are other things that we're just not going to grant this permit, then none of this study and none of this work may ever be done because the permit was never granted.
right. Now, let me ask you this, Dick. Any studies that are done, it's public information, isn't it? So we have a right to see.
Well, it depends upon who commissions the study and
Yeah.
who the study is done for. So that's the thing. It may not be public information. A lawyer may end up sequestering the information at his or her discretion. So you got to be careful who pays for the study.
But if it gets submitted to a board,
Then it becomes public record.
Right.
That's right.
then it becomes public.
That's
Well,
right.
So if we got a copy of it, then it's public record.
Right. I don't know if Bill was here when I said the town hall is accumulating all the information that is being presented at the public hearing. Not one document is in there from the applicant. Not one document. Every document that's in there, there's quite a few, is from our group. So how can you object to something if
It's really simple. You can either look it up yourself or give the Attorney General a call and you just ask for the process under the Freedom of Information Act, and you just send it into the proper form, and they've got so many days to give it to you.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Dick. The town select board, hired Attorney Costa to not be in favor or against the permit, but just to inform the board of what to do, because O'Toole, who's the town council, his firm does work for Chomsky, so they file a conflict of, there's a conflict of interest there.
Right, of course.
But Costa said that if one of the 11 criteria under 6.27 of the bylaws is not complied with, then the permit cannot be issued. There are 11 conditions, and each one of them has to be met. Now,
that's the special permit conditions, correct?
Right, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Does the Board of Health have anything to do with those conditions or criteria?
We're not in that. That's if it ends up, if it's straight zoning, then the building inspector is the.
Yeah, that's planning board, ZBA, and building inspector.
Yeah, but the select board may act as the issuing agency, may be the one that has to make that determination. And then what would happen is then if they granted a permit that a group, your group, I'll call you your group. It's not fair to say your group because you're citizens of Granby. But
Right.
I'm just saying the group that's sitting here tonight, that if one of your people, your friends or you were to look and say, you know what, that's a regulation in this town. You guys granted the permit in violation, you didn't follow this, then I forget whether you go to Superior Court, but whatever it is, that there's the legal means.
There's a
to
remedy,
say
yeah,
you
there's a
didn't
remedy
comply
out of
with
that
those laws.
situation. Yeah,
See,
there's a
it's really
remedy.
a waste of money because 12 years ago, I was part of the group that sued the select board because they issued a permit for the exact same area, exact same amount of cubic yards to be taken out. And the judge ruled on several different things that the board did not do. So we won, they didn't get the permit.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do the exact same thing now. The only thing they did, they changed the names. They have
But in this
back
case,
then it was,
Rich, what you're talking about right now doesn't really pertain to the Board of Health. We have to be careful on what we do that is, while we've got broad powers, and when we look at health and safety to protect people in terms of land use and process of permitting, that's different. That's not in the Board of Health purview. And so
Yeah,
when
you got,
we can do things like saying, this in fact is that we've determined this is a threat to people's health and safety, we're gonna say you can't do that without
yeah, on the
fixing that
zoning
threat.
end, Rich, you got John McLaughlin. John's an excellent
Yeah.
lawyer. He knows all the ins and outs of that stuff. You know
Yeah.
that.
he's good. He's good.
So that's different. That I don't know. I fully expect that as the select board goes further along, that the select board is going to say, "Hey, Board of Health, what did you really mean by this?" And the Board of Health took that action as a result of the select board asking the Board of Health to look at that. They said, "Would you please? We've got this permit. Here's the permit. Here's the project. Would you please review this and give your comment?" So the select board asked us to do that, and we in fact did that. So I expect that the select board's gonna move further along and let their investigation continue. And then it's for sure.
See,
Town council is gonna have to be saying, I don't want this. If the Board of Selectmen says, okay, we agree with all of this, we're gonna put that as a requirement, then the Board of Health may have nothing to do with it other than at some point say, did this really happen? But at this point, so it could go all the way from the select board saying, you know what, this is the same argument that we had 12 years ago, and this is going to be turned down for the same reason, and then it dies.
exactly. But it looks like the Board of Health has to give final approval before they can issue the permit. Is that correct?
For sure, the Board of Health is going to have to say, yeah, you complied with this order.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and which is different than approving the permit. What the Board of Health is saying, see, there were 8 things. I don't know if it's 8, but let's say there were 8 things that
Right.
we said these are a threat to the citizens' health and safety in the town. They have to be studied, understood, and rectified.
Yeah, Rich,
Now-
what were your specific talking points directed to the Board of Health, in your opinion?
Can I
Well,
interject here? I'm sorry. I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Susan Bruffy, Mr. Bombardier, Mr. Shaheen Lee. Thank you. I'm the culprit who sent you that large packet of information. I was hoping to give you a background on our concerns before we came in here. It might have been really overkill, and I apologize if it was. But I think a big question that we have is that the planning board has requested a peer review by a civil engineer. I know the conservation has once an NRAD and a storm water pollution prevention plan. And you mentioned in your letter that the long-term environmental impact of removing the quality of soil in this sensitive area should be assessed by a peer. But a specific recommendation wasn't made as to what types of assessments should be made. And I know I hear this poor select board time and time again listening to us and saying, well, you know, we're not the experts, we don't know. But as Rich said, we're going into our fourth hearing and no assessments have been requested. I'm wondering if the Board in Health can give the select board any direction in terms of what types of assessments you see might be necessary in order to assess a lot of the things that you mentioned in your Board of Health letter. Is that an appropriate thing for the Board of Health to be doing at this point in time? I know that the first time around, the planning board ended up sending, I think, 4 different letters to the select board because issues kept coming up, and so they would address them as they came up. And again, I'm hearing the select board almost crying out for help, saying, hey, we're not the experts. So that is a question I don't know whether you can address as members of the Board of Health.
Well, Susan, good to see you again. I saw you 2 weeks ago at Conservation.
Yes, thank you.
No, and thank you for the packet. I think we all received your packet of data. And I understand the dynamics. Dick, I'm guessing that the letter that the Board of Health issued several weeks ago is essentially the template. That's the template for what needs to be done. But I suspect Susan's asking for a little more specificity as to what particular technical items need to be addressed. I don't know if now's the time to do that, though, Dick. What do you think?
I think so. I think what the select board, I haven't been at the hearing, but if it were our hearing right now, if we were doing this,
Yeah,
we would be in the position that we would be gathering information from different groups, from the planning board. In fact, I think the approval process requires that the selectmen reach out. But at this point, without understanding where the select board or what they're thinking, the board, our board, is going to be stepping into an area that it's not time to step into. That I would think that the select board would be saying, okay, we've had the hearings that we're supposed to have. We're still at the gathering point. And we're getting closer to say, okay, we're going to make some kind of decision. But as Susan is saying, by the way, Susan, thank you for the packet. I read the packet and it was very informative. And as we said to Rich, we're not gathering that data. That's not, at this point, it's not our position to be doing that. I don't know if you were on board when I said it, that the board responded to the Board of Health, responded to the Board of Selectmen request to say, could you look at this? And we did, and say, yeah, there's some health and safety issues here. And you can't move beyond the spot that you are right now in terms of the process, the permitting. You can't issue that permit unless you understand it. And they're loose, as you pointed out. They're loose enough because the engineering hasn't been done to define the problem. That's what the Board of Health stated in our letter, saying this is an issue, as Bill just pointed out. It's a thing. It's still kind of, it's real, but it's not totally defined yet. You
Yeah,
haven't,
it's a nebulous problem right now. It hasn't been well defined. That's the thing.
and part of the engineering part of this, it's not, and I think, in fact, Jim Kropke did call me up and said, gee, I don't understand too. And part of the issue is that people jump or would like to jump to the solutions of the problems that there are. The issue is the problems haven't been defined. So, and that's where Bill was pointing out the truck noise. And you can say there's a noise issue, but there's more than a noise issue. That once you start saying, what is this noise problem? Because that's a good one to be talking about. Because it's not just, is that truck Bill's talking about, or that type of truck too loud? Well, it now starts to be, well, is that truck going on that road doing that many trips at that time of day? And so as you start going into really defining it, you say, gee, this is a very specific problem, but not specifically defined right now. So that for us to jump in, the Board of Health, to jump in to the select board right now and say, let's talk about noise. Let's talk about safe distances between vehicles on roads. That all of those start to become issues that very quickly the select board and the Board of Health would say, well, we're not the right people yet to say those two big trucks crossing each other on that road, on that corner, we're not the experts to define that. But we are at the point of saying somebody's got to be looking at that. And you can't issue that permit.
Well, Dick,
You
let me
can't
just,
say that we're going to issue the permit and then someone's got to look at it later. Because maybe there's no solution. Maybe there's no, you don't know that you don't know. In some cases, you don't know what you don't know yet, because you need to hire somebody. If you're going to get through this gate and say, yeah, we're going to do the issue a permit, you have to learn what you don't know. And so, Susan, where you're saying the select board is reaching out, yeah, I would expect it's because they're starting to see all these things that are, as Bill pointed out, they're nebulous, they're still loose. But the Board of Health is saying they're there, folks. And you can't issue this permit until you go and look at them and figure some of them may not need to be fixed. Some of them may be very serious. Some of them may not be able to be fixed. You know, if you look at somebody, and I don't know, Susan, maybe you out and saying, you know, the bridge on Tromsky Avenue may not be suitable to carry the heaviest truck that's going to go over there. It may not be. It may, there's no study that'll do it for that bridge. The study's saying the bridge is no good and you can't do it unless you replace that bridge. But but there are gonna be some of those. There's someone that's gonna say, you know what, that wasn't a big problem after all. That you don't have to do whatever that is, whatever we were afraid of. Say that's not one of them. But that's why I think Susan and maybe Rich, you're there, and whoever else is with us tonight is looking and saying this is loose right now, and it's not at the point of for sure sending letters into the Board of Health saying, Board, you guys do the work. We got this stuff that's other. It's because it's loose enough that a group that's opposed to this is still shooting at individual items that one person or one neighborhood could be big. It could be items that one person alone is concerned with, and it doesn't affect the rest of the community, and it's not appropriate to be on the big list. It's so everybody's out. It's so loose right now. But the issue that the Board of Health did is put that gate that says we can't go through it. We can't issue this permit until this list of things that we saw gets defined and gets rectified. And so but there's going to be, Rich, you brought it up earlier. There at some point, someone's got to say who's good enough, as Bill points out, for what expert you're going to get. Who's a good enough expert to define the problems we should be working on, and then who is it that decides whether the solution is an appropriate solution for the problem that we're working on. So that's on there. But in terms of the Board of Health saying you have to do that, no, if you don't wanna, if someone just says, you know what, we're just not gonna go after this project this time, none of this may ultimately ever get defined and get resolved because it may never come to pass. But I don't know if that helped you, Susan or Rich, whether it
Thank
helps
you very
right
much.
now where the board is.
It does make me feel better knowing that this is really you view it as a process that is unfolding and there's a lot left to be defined. I think we've been growing more and more nervous as we see hearings go on, and we keep thinking that the select board will be asking the applicant to verify things, asking them for further information. And they haven't at this point, which is why I had been wondering whether anything can be suggested to them. But knowing your information is definitely very helpful, and knowing that there is an avenue that's being followed and that it's a process that's being unfolded makes me feel better. I do one thing, you had spoken, Mr. Bombardier, about really needing to be looking at what the health needs are as a group. I know in the letter that we wrote, I mentioned particular health needs of individuals. And so a question I do have, I mean, I mentioned someone who lives right near the exit of Tromke Avenue, where they go up a steep hill, and the noise and the diesel fumes are just horrible. We don't get a lot of trucks now from the Chartier gravel pit because it's only licensed for, I think, 5,000 cubic yards. But when they do run, it is just a horrible, noisy, smelly mess. And she has an acute mast cell autoimmune disorder, and diesel fuel is a known trigger for her, and she has anaphylactic responses. Does the select board have any responsibility for protecting individuals from known health dangers like this. I was wondering, I don't know whether this at any point falls under like the American with Disability Act or any state or federal mandates that apply to issues like this. I know that the select board needs to be following the bylaws and doing things in the best interest of the town as a whole. But are the responsibilities put forth towards an individual like this?
You know, that's an interesting question, Dick. Clearly, public health is our general purview, but fine tuning it to a particular individual, I think that's going to take some deep thinking on our part.
Well, I think, Sue, there are at least half a dozen people that have some serious health problems on Bachelor Street.
On the street, yes, we have COPD, a lot of asthma. We have vets who have been in the burn pit. So we have people with advanced cancer, but a lot of respiratory issues right in that area. I was just pointing to this one particular individual because it is just such a very extreme example, and she's right there and she's in harm's way.
Yeah, I think that Bill's got a good point, but I think that certainly there's the avenue that someone from the Board of Health standpoint, you could end up using a process that's called a public health nuisance process, and that you could petition the Board of Health and say, here's the situation, we'd like you to call this a public health nuisance and have it rectified. Whether the Board of Health would end up saying it is, it's complicated. It's still the same. You've got federal air standards. You've got vehicle standards that the state sets up for noise and pollution, and so if you think of to put it, let's put it to an extreme, and I'm doing it to an extreme because it doesn't apply to your particular example, but it's an extreme, and to try to make a point. And let's say that there is a person that lives on the side of the road, and that person has their windows open most of the time. And that person is particularly sensitive to perfumes made from the gardenia flower. And that it actually causes that person to have convulsions. And it just happens that 4 doors down from the person's house, there's a person that loves the perfume that's made from the gardenia flowers. And that person happens to walk to their friend's house that's 4 doors in the other direction, past the person that's so desperately affected by that odor. Now, if you look at our society and our regulations and say, does that really mean that that person or any other person walking on that street should be forbidden from having perfume made from the gardenia flower? And it's back to what Bill is saying and saying, well, did the person that made the perfume do anything wrong? Did the person wearing it do anything wrong? They didn't. Did they break any laws? Could you put them in jail for walking by the house that made the person sick? So it's an extreme. It doesn't fit. But really, the question you had, it kind of does. It at least has some, as I said, I put it in an extreme to say that's crazy, but to make what Bill talks about being complicated, and what would the Board of Health do? What would the courts do? It's a very difficult thing when you end up with one person that's affected by another, the actions of another, when the actions were clearly not illegal. So I don't, in this particular case of the sense that I'm not sure what the problem. I think that my guess is that there are big problems that affect lots of people, that probably working on the big problems and solving those are probably going to end up solving the little problem. That's what I would hope. But where we are right now, we haven't, as a board, the three of us have not been working with the selectmen, and in fact, that other than for a conversation a long time ago with Brian O'Toole about it, and very general talk, nothing to really giving advice or anything. So no, the Board of Health has not yet worked with the selectmen about with this, and I would hope that our boards have always certainly in the last, I don't know, 20 years, the boards have worked very well together, and hopefully what happens is we use our resources in a good and constructive way to help each other out and deal with the needs of the town.
Can I ask Bill a question?
Sure, go ahead, Rich.
Bill, I know we're not supposed to talk about conservation, but I have a question. It kind of fits in this area. But you said you won't issue a report on wetlands until after the permit is issued, correct?
We have to do a technical peer review of their permit application form and plan set, Rich. So we can't issue a report until they submit a proposal to us.
Now, here's the question. It's a very unusual situation where we're talking about a gravel pit that the result of your opinion has an effect on whether they get the permit to begin with. And we won't know, they won't know the results until, what you say in your report on that permit, whether they're encroaching on wetlands, is very important to whether they get the permit to begin with.
Actually, they have a very simple solution. They can just move the boundaries of their operation outside of any jurisdictional areas on the wetland side of things. So they do have a fairly simple solution if they do encroach.
Well, that's what they're saying right now. That's what they're saying right now. They're not encroaching on wetlands, but
well, we're gonna hire a peer reviewer to make sure that their wetland line has been established in accordance with proper protocol.
Because every map I've looked at, every insurance map, every map I've looked at, it says the whole area is a floodplain and there are wetlands. So how they can stand up and even say that, I don't understand.
Well, let's let them submit. I don't want to take up BOH time, but let's let them submit their ANRAD application. We'll do our peer reviewers, and again, you guys will be welcome to come to our hearings, and we can hash it out there. But I appreciate the concern and question, Rich.
Okay.
And
Thank
actually,
you.
I think our concern actually doesn't really have to do with the dig site as much as it does with the travel site. The road that they'll be traveling through is the road that is surrounded by the floodplains, and it's bordered by the Bachelor Brook tributary, and the dump trucks, and there are going to be thousands of them, need to go over the culvert, and they haven't really answered the question, but I don't think that culvert has been certified for any weight at all. And Kira Jacobs from the Department of
This
Environmental
is
Protection.
not a Board of Health issue right now, and
Yeah, that's
I hate to do this to everybody, but we're now after 9:15. The board's got a lot of other things left to do. We actually spent a lot more time than we had planned to. I think it's worthwhile. That's why I didn't say, hey guys, let's try to get back onto our schedule and do the rest of the Board of Health business. We can come back and do more of this.
Dick, could I make
hope-
one last comment?
Sure.
Okay, are you aware of, there's a state law that will affect the Board of Health's authority quite a bit? It's called the Statewide Accelerated Public Health for Every Community Act. It says it would dramatically reshape the public health infrastructure in the state at potentially great financial cost to taxpayers with little or no local involvement. But the state wants to take away a lot of authority from local boards of health. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Yeah, they are. Won't go deep into it. That we're seeing it now with shared services that we're involved right now with Northampton. The thought right now, and where it goes, I'm not sure. It's going to be tremendously expensive, but the state has done. In fact, that the study is at least a half a dozen years old now, I think. But essentially, it said that there are, let's say, there's 321 boards of health in the state. I don't know that that's a number. It's a number like that,
Right.
and that they're all essentially independent, follow general rules, and that the health services are dramatically different from that individual citizens get from community to community. And so the state is trying to get it so that inspectors all have similar credentials and training, that that when inspections are made, when how health crises are managed, are done by qualified people and in similar ways from community to community. The general concept is that at the tactical level, the doing things level, that the boards of health end up, yes, indeed, losing power. That restaurants all get inspected the same way. That what you guys listen to from a septic system installer all get handled the same way. That the people are capable. You don't wait. And we saw a guy with not much experience really trying to figure out whether we should let him install stuff. That everybody ends up in a whole state being treated the same way. That mosquitoes all get handled the same way, and at least the appropriate way for the area. But that the autonomy of the Board of Health to make decisions stay and not get taken away. But whether that's what really ends up happening, it's going to be a tremendous amount of money to do it, because at this point there aren't enough people to do it. There aren't enough people to keep up with the information that the state wants to keep on file. It's a tremendously big project. And whether it actually happens or not, some of it will. We're seeing it where we definitely, from a town standpoint, we're in trouble. We can't. The individual members of the board don't have the credentials to do the inspections that are required right now. And we're having a terrible time trying to find someone that will do it. That essentially what the town is getting for whatever our budget is. Let's say the budget is $70,000. I don't know for sure right now, but it's that kind of number. It's probably, for this town, it's probably gonna be tripling to do it. If you look at our inspecting at $35 an inspection, it's just, it's not, it's stuff that's done for free.
I'll tell you one thing, Rich, if the county, and this is the county, if the county takes over, you're unlikely to get the rapid service and TLC that you get from our board and boards in the past. Believe me on that.
We're
Right.
worried about that. Yeah.
The other thing though is that if you look at from the spot of Granby, Granby's got 3 people on this board that are old, that have had a ton of experience, that, for instance, got through COVID with an old school and a modern school not designed for disease prevention. That it looks like that whole COVID, there may not have been any within school transmission of that disease through what happened with this board and working with the school department. It's really, this board has some really good skills, but you know what? It would be that without, on another board, 10 years from now, we could have 3 people on this board that are absolutely incapable of making really good and informed and knowledgeable decisions. And
That's throughout the whole town.
and what would happen is what the state is doing would really help protect against having that happen. So it's a double-edged sword. It's going to be expensive. There just aren't people to do it. So it's not an easy fix. But that's in kind of a nutshell, Rich. That's
Right. Thank you.
what that is. I don't know if it answered your question.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Gentlemen,
So-
thank you so much for your time. You have been very informative and very helpful in so many ways. And, I think you just said it, Richard, you do such an incredible job. And I just am so glad that you were on our side during this whole COVID pandemic, because I think our town came out on top of a lot of things, and you do.
Well, we hope so. We
Yes.
hope so. It's not let's hope we don't go through it again. I probably won't go through it again. That's for sure. That's for sure. So,
But thank you so much. And
Thank you.
as things progress, we might be asking more questions, but
well, for
as you
sure,
said, this is a process, and I think we just need to be more patient than maybe we're being right now.
Susan,
Well,
thank you,
let's
Rich. Thank you, and everyone else from the group. Thanks for attending tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
A great
by
night.
the way, as you look at what this particular format does is by having this online format, it allows more people to be listening to that. Although we don't have many people tonight, but if we had 100 people, we could all be here, and it's a good format. It makes it so that here it is at 9:30 at night that we all haven't had to leave our homes. And,
I think online is great.
This
The
is
select
great.
board should do
Thank
it.
you.
yeah, I think it's a powerful tool. It's a way for people to get close to elected officials and get a chance to say, looking at you guys face to face and listening, and when you want to go and look at what happened at the Board of Health meeting 2 meetings ago, you can listen and say, what were those crazy guys talking about?
Right.
At least So thank
Thank
you
you
for
very much.
spending actually some very interesting time tonight. It was
Good.
I
Thank you.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed tonight.
Good.
So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's get back to where we were.
Mhm.
We got through the wine house. I'm gonna
Mhm.
guess our discussion time is gonna go down right now. We'll go back to Evelyn Hatch at Breezy Acres Farm. We've got 2 licenses applications, a license to sell retail food and also a license to sell milk and cream. The renewals, are we okay with that?
Yes.
That's
Bill?
good, Dick. Yeah, oh, yes, fine.
That was this was a long evening.
Mhm.
Uh, The next one is Serve Food Kitchen. Now this one is part, it looks like catering concession. And we have given, I'm guessing it's to give the permit to be at Winehouse. But if you look at what we got, it says on a letterhead, Serve Food Kitchen, community shared use. And it says agreement. This agreement is entered into as of the 10 day of April 2024 by and between Serve Food LLC, Serve Food, a limited liability company with the place of business in Holyoke and Granby, Mass, from Hart Catering Concessions. In evidence of their agreement, these parties have subscribed their name to be effective the date of this agreement. It doesn't tell you what the agreement's for. It doesn't tell you what Serve Food Kitchen is, whether it's a certified kitchen or inspected place.
She's working on, this is wants to be her base of operations, and she is working with them to get their copy of their food permit, their food license. So I don't know why it's taking so long. It's a place where people can go and use that kitchen to prepare their food, but I don't understand why she can't get their permit, but she is working on getting their permit from their town. Must be Holyoke, so.
Since
So
it
we-
doesn't tell what they have, is it one kitchen that many people have? How do you tell that someone doesn't move all of their food that was in the refrigerator out on the floor? It doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you
Doesn't really
anything about
say.
the agreement, or it doesn't tell you what the company is like. Lee
Yeah.
and Phil, what do you think of this?
Where does she propose to operate in town? At what location?
Oh, why not?
Mhm.
Does
I'm
this
not sure. I don't know
individual,
whether you were at this meeting, Bill, but the woman doesn't have a base of operation.
So she wants to operate from Jim's facility?
Oh, well, the last one, she said, it's my base of operation while I'm there.
Well, the question is again, does she have a toilet and a sink in her trailer or whatever she's bringing?
This came back to saying, even while, it only says while she's there, that's her base of operation. It doesn't say, where the food is stored, how it's stored, nothing when she's not there. And so this came back. Now we have a thing that says, hey, I have an agreement here, it's signed, but it doesn't say what the agreement is, and it doesn't say what the place is and what any part of it.
Wow.
I think the applicant needs to step up and be more transparent with this thing.
Yeah, have them come to
Prior.
the next meeting, I think, Colleen. Dick, what do you think? Have them come to the next meeting. We have to chit chat with these people.
Okay,
Maybe that's what it is, that maybe they don't understand what we're looking for, that
Is she certified herself individually or no?
yes,
She is.
she is.
You know, she should be held to the same standards as a standard commercial kitchen, I would
Absolutely
think.
right.
Right.
So she needs the amount of sinks, she needs hand washing, she needs sanitation protocol.
Well, that's what this is supposed to be, that her base of operation is supposed to have that.
Yeah,
Well, we gotta see that.
And we also possibly, we go backwards and if the base of operations is the wine house, we have to understand for water supply.
Well, I know Jim's got a terrific business there, but the fact that he doesn't have a septic system and a bathroom for people, that's getting absurd at this point.
yeah. She says she has her
Yeah.
own water tank and she can bring her water as far as her, whatever her.
Yeah, but our
They
have
problem is she doesn't have any place to get the water. There's nothing that she could be working out of, the back of Dressel's garage.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what this place is in Holyoke, serve food.
Well, and going backwards in tonight's meeting, when that complaint was filed about that woman with the cane, and there's 2 sandy cans, only one of which contains a sink.
Right.
How do the patrons and how, more importantly, do the vendors make sure that, just very basically use the sandy can and use the proper hand washing facilities to ensure that the safety of the general population is being served here? And that goes right back to your comment, Bill, that the growth of the wine house maybe needs to be clipped a little bit to avoid something stupid happening on a large scale.
No, Jim seems to be doing very well, but he's got to step up and get this thing up to date. If he's growing at the rate he seems to be growing, put in the big parking lot. Let's put in a leach field and a little bathroom for people, and again a little kitchen. He needs some sort of kitchen with all the food he's selling there. A little food.
Well, the problem with this food service place is it looks like this person running this food service place is doing it the same way, saying, you know what, I don't need to cook my stuff in a place that's safe. I don't need to worry about where I got my ice and where I fill my tanks up with water. I don't need to worry about where I throw it on the ground. That, when you hear it in joking terms, say, oh, when we get done washing our dishes, we throw it out on the grate. Well,
Yeah,
that's not the way you do business. Well, maybe in Appalachia that's okay, but in Granby, that's not the way you do it. You make it so people don't get sick.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
and,
and that goes back to my comment of getting, the retail food sales. Somebody has to be the big person and make sure that whatever is going on that property is going on correctly, or forbid the vendors and or the food trucks or whatever, because it's going to fall on Mr. Tromke's shoulders if something goes wrong here.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of the usage of those Santa cans. If people are drinking beer, if there's 100 people there and they're drinking beer, having a good time, I'm guessing those Santa cans are used probably 15, 20 times an hour. I'm guessing. Just guessing.
And that being said, how many hand washings can you get out of one of those units in all reality?
I don't know. I don't know, Lee.
Not.
Oh, I can say that I
Not much.
predict if only one has got a sink, you get half the number of hand washings you should have at the maximum, at the minimum.
Right.
Because the other half of the people are coming in without washing.
Well, yeah, look, probably a lot of the guys are using the one without the hand washing. The ladies go into the one with the washing, and some of the guys too. But like you say, a lot of people are going to the toilet and not washing their hands and going back and ingesting food and drink. Just saying.
Huh?
And if the hand washing facility is maybe 10, 20 gallons of water tops in a gravity tank, and the people in the food trucks don't have that option because the water would potentially be gone by the time they get there.
Well, I'm sure Jim has I'm sure he has a spigot on the outside of the building with the old kennels where I'm sure they got plenty of water there with the hoses and that
Unless
sort of.
plus the garden hoses are feeding the food trucks.
Well, that could happen too.
So,
Yeah.
okay,
All right.
so let's go, let's
That's
try the
enough
next
of that.
one.
Okay.
So we didn't, that one didn't go. We've got a
No.
well application for 43 West State Street. I did look at that one. And where we were, Leah, Bill wasn't here, I think, on this discussion. And Colleen got some information saying this is not going to be a public water supply, that it's just going to be a little toilet and sink. We were concerned with roads going in. It turns out that where the drawing was kind of inconclusive on what was happening on the right side, let's say the east side of the building. Subway is touching that building, just about. The subway fence is there. There is no road that's going to go in there. Although it looks like it's essentially, touching the driveway. I think it's the drive-through of the subway. But
Do
the
we know
questions we
whether
had about the future use.
What location is this again, Dick? What's the address?
This is where
Field.
All Power was,
all power?
and it's the showroom. If you're standing at the bank or on the other side of the street. So if you're standing with your back to the south and you're looking to the north, the building to the right, which was, I think he had boats in there.
Oh, that was, yeah, all powers. Yeah, the one with all the windows. Okay, I know that building. It's a metal
And this
building.
is-
I've been in there.
It is right in as you look at it, it's in the front right corner is where the
Okay.
well goes.
Okay.
And it looks like it's more than 100 feet from everything. Our question was, what are they gonna do with the rest of the property? How are they gonna develop it? Was it gonna be a public water supply and
Yeah, that's
looks like it's
American
not.
Installation. They do insulating. That's an insulation and an energy efficiency company.
Do we know that both buildings are on the public septic system?
Well, they were both owned by DAR at one time, correct?
Colleen, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was ever hooked up. That's a question that whether
I don't
he decided he was gonna save the hookup fee, so he stayed on his septic system. I don't know.
Didn't Dave DeRozier get back to us about that and said they've got an application in to be connected or something?
That's what I
That
thought
doesn't
you
mean-
said, which would indicate that they're not connected.
But they're not connected then.
No,
Maybe-
it didn't sound like it. It sounds like they've got the
We
application
need
in
to
now
know where
to be-
the
that they're going to.
SAS is on the site. So it sounds as though they may have one large or too small septic systems on those buildings. They may all be tied in together in the back. I really don't know,
Mm,
but I
I
don't
don't
believe
know
they're
either. In fact,
hooked up.
if you
But
look at this thing, at the drawing that came out.
Yeah.
If it looks like we don't have dates or anything on it, but if you look at the main all-power building, this drawing says with a cloud around it, existing SAS and a septic tank right in front of that building.
You mean
And
facing
then-
202, right?
Yeah. So if you went in the driveway, the main driveway, it would be immediately on your left. The other thing that this has got, which I can't read it because my drawings are too small, is there is in front of this building and close to the well, right in the middle of the front of this building, is a thing that says ELB-1. And it says rim and 35 feet. I don't know, Bill, does ELB stand for some kind of a building or a site term?
Yeah, let me put
It
on the,
looks like it
Let me put
could
on-
be a catch basin maybe.
yeah, let me put on I got about 5 pairs of glasses here. Let me try this pair. Hold on. Okay, this is, oh yeah, 43 West State. Okay, let me take a look. Okay, hold on, please. Oh boy, I am blind. All right, this was, let's take a look here. All right, here we are.
Something leak basin.
Yeah. Oh, engineering land solutions. So this is Petrus. This must be Mike. Is this Michael Petrus?
We have my drawings done. It's very difficult for me to understand.
Yeah. Let me take a peek at it. Hold on. I gotta. Oh yeah. It says ELB elevation. EL's elevation. I don't know. Benchmark 1. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
I have no idea what that means.
Can I request that whoever this firm is hire an engineer, and they need to disclose what septic systems are in the ground and their locations. We can't be doing this type of we can't be dropping a well in without knowing what is already there.
After that, Lee, as long as you're talking like that, how do you know what's involved next door at the subway?
Right.
I agree. Absolutely. We need disclosure on that whole area.
Well, no, hold on. Now, time out. Is there not a sewer on that stretch of road?
There is, but that's what Colleen said when we asked about it, that Dave DeRosa says there's an application to hook it up. But this one, if you look at that drawing that you're looking at, Bill,
Yeah.
you see at one point that existing SAS, and that's before, an old permit. This were, that sewer is 30 years old.
Yeah.
And SAS wasn't in use, so that term wasn't in use 30 years ago.
Yeah. Let me see. Hold on here.
I don't think Dan Darcy elected to ever tie in when he was running all power.
Yeah, he was pretty tight with the buck.
And he also has the lead on Subway, so he wouldn't have spent the money on that either.
Now take a look. Now there's a cross section of something on the right. There looks to be, it says general construction notes. And again, I'm blind, I'm sorry, but I'm blind. But I do see a structure. It looks like a manhole with some sort of vent on it. And there's no call out as to its designation. But it seems somewhat suspicious that this might be what this ELB-1 is. Actually, you know what this looks like, Dick, on
I
the
don't
right?
think-
It looks like an oil water separator to me, if you think about it.
Yeah.
That's
It
a
is,
good
it's an
idea.
oil water separator. That's what that
Well,
is.
this in fact could be a leaching basin
Yep, yeah. Yeah,
right next to his well.
yeah, well, that's an oil water separator because there's no indication of outflow, but it does have that angled pipe, and that 45-degree angled
Oh,
pipe
amazing.
that goes down about 2/3 into the water is typical of a oil water separator.
I think that Lee's right. We need to know something with proper scale, what's within this circle that we, again, you have no idea whether Subway even is connected to the sewer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It says all inlet traps to be constructed in accordance with 248 CMR2, and that's the plumbing code. See, that's the plumbing code reference. So this indeed is an oil water separator shown on the right side in cross section. That's an oil water separator.
But it also could be a leaching basin.
Well, I don't think so, but that's okay. But anyway, you're right. I think we shouldn't approve this until we get a little more information.
Yeah. And that this shouldn't be, Colleen, this thing shouldn't be coming from a well driller. This needs to be documentation from an engineer saying this complies with all the regulations and tells us what's in those circles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, call Engineering Land Solution, Ludlow, Mass. There's a phone number. Oh yeah, see, it's MP. That's Michael Petrus. Call Petrus
Yeah.
up, ask him what's going on.
That's not our job. Colleen should just, the guy that is Joe Dill, and say, hey, Joe, you need to get the engineering part of this done.
Okay.
Colleen shouldn't be the person that follows engineering up, do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when did Petrus submit this to David DeRocher? It's dated March 14th of this year.
That might have been when we
But I
discussed.
think I think you're right. We should just say this is an engineering project that needs to have everything that's involved.
Yes. Yeah. Too many unknowns here.
So the next one that we have is the hauler and installer's permit renewal for clean septic. So we've got, it's a installer's permit and a hauler's permit. Are we gonna just approve that one? Those, the two of them?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
Mm-hmm.
The next one looks like it's just a certificate of compliance. This is for 12 Truby Street. This is Alan White sent it in. This is Leo Fugler's property. Did you inspect this thing?
Oh, yeah,
It-
it's a new system, yes. Everything's fine
It's
there.
got ties and everything to it.
Yeah, that's his grandson's house, yeah.
So
Will be
so
soon.
you're okay with that, Lee?
Yes, thank you.
Are
Yep.
you
12 Truby?
I'm good, Dick.
12
Yeah,
Truby?
well,
Yep.
All right. And then the
Yep.
142 Carver Street, that was done in 2022 in September, Lee. So
Oh,
that's why-
Boylo, right? Was that a Philip Boyle or something like that?
Uh,
But
yeah.
anyway, yeah, he did that, and he was trying to get some tax credit or some full thing, which is way, way, way too late to get it. But it's 2 years old, but it's fine. Yeah.
So all this, so this is this the one that I think this is the guy that was your friend, Bill, wasn't, or guy from Conservation Commission, or isn't this the one that the guy didn't have any room around his house and he wanted to put a plastic tank in?
Oh, that's Paul Bolio, his brother's selectman. Yes,
Oh,
that's
I don't
Paul
know if that-
Bolio.
Okay.
But I don't know that is that the same property?
Yeah, because Paul wanted to, he wanted to put a plastic tank in because he didn't have access to put a concrete tank behind the house.
Yeah, but I don't know that that's what this is.
He's on Carver Street.
Yeah, way up on the right.
Yeah,
Way
way
back.
up on the right. Yeah, around 120, 130 up that way. 140, I think.
Yep. Yes.
Well, how about 142?
Me too.
That sounds like it. Exactly.
Huh.
Yeah, Paul Bolio.
Okay, so that was okay?
Oh, so I jumped that one. That's the one I jumped.
Yeah,
I think that's okay, Colleen. I was
Okay.
up there, but it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, he had to put
Yeah.
ballast in for the tank, some anchor ballast.
Yeah. So we're gonna prove that one. Bill, you're okay with that?
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
And I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
okay, okay.
Now we're getting into the point that I'm getting tired.
Yeah. I move we postpone the discussion on the range until next time.
Well, we can do that, but we've got these darn Title V that we should at least, if that's the only thing we're,
All right, let's do those. Okay, let's just,
What about, the well permit for the lot 4 East Street? You approved the septic design tonight. He came in today with the application.
we should be able to approve that as long as it's installed according to the design that we approved, right?
that's right.
Yes,
Lee, are you okay with that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Colleen, that's what we do.
Okay, good, thank you.
Provided it's installed according to the design that we approved.
Okay,
We've got, can we just, we've got something that we do have to at least deal with the Title V. 276 Amherst Street. It's a reinspection by Alan Weiss. That's the marijuana house, right?
That's correct.
So that's the same thing. We just did a whole bunch of work on that just a little while ago. I can't believe that they have to do another Title V.
I think
Just selling it again?
It's just a 3 to 6 month and re-inspect, I think.
inspection.
Oh, maybe after they. Oh, that's what he's
After they-
doing. This is to make
Yeah,
sure the
yeah,
leach
yeah.
field works because it was abandoned.
Right, they gutted the house, put the
Yeah.
system back to life, and it's functioning, appears to be functioning just fine.
Okay, so
Yep,
we can just accept that then, right?
yes, please.
How about you, Bill? Are you okay with
Yeah,
that?
that's good. Are there people living in the house now, Lee?
There are full family, yep,
Okay, that's good.
yes. Yep, no problem.
7 School Street. Nick Toretti passes that one. Well,
Title V, yep. That's that
and
nice
that was,
house with the barns around it, post and beam, beautiful. Yep,
and it had, this one had enough underneath the leach field, right?
that's correct, yes.
So are we okay with that?
Yeah,
Looks
that's
like
fine.
we are. Bill, you okay with it?
Yeah, Does he have his 3-foot water table separation?
Yes,
It said on the drawing that he did, right?
that's correct.
Okay,
And it was more than, now, we got on 241 Chicopee Street is a house and a garage, two different ones. There's a, it looks like the house, Greg Everson asked me a question, and he did one that he asked me a question that he did, Colleen, he asked another question. Let's do the one that Colleen fielded. They've got a 46-year-old septic tank that's decayed enough that the outlet baffle needs to be replaced. And Greg asked if we were gonna just let him replace the outlet baffle or make him replace the tank. And I sent the thing to Colleen, said, I thought the board would say that if a tank is 46 years old and rotted enough that the baffle is rotted out, that we're not gonna say, try to fix up a 46-year-old tank that's corroded, replace it.
you know, it's funny, he sent some photographs of that. The photos actually, it looked pretty good from the photos, but again, those are just two snapshots. But I was curious that tank's actually 46 years old. Did you look at the photos?
I didn't see that. I didn't look.
Colleen, did he send a couple of photos,
He's got,
color photographs?
he's got inlet baffle, leach pit, outlet baffle of tank. But on that
My
one,
feeling is concrete 50 years old, it's got
Oh,
any
yeah, if it's 50 years old, but
we should pull it out.
yeah.
What do you think, Lee?
I voiced that opinion at the time of the Title V. The concrete was somewhat robust on the inlet side, but again, like every other tank, the outlet side was showing its age, as the baffle was no longer there.
Well, is it fairly straightforward to replace the tank, or is it going to be a big burden on people?
The gentleman who owns the house indicated that he was in financial straits, and I told him he could wait till the house was sold and do it just before the sale.
Yeah.
But that more likely than not, there would not be an option to leave it where it was. And I
Maybe
left
it's
it
the
at
time
that.
to fix it instead of passing it on to the next guy.
Yeah, yeah. Unless he wants to hire a structural engineer and do a thorough structural review, which will probably cost him as much as putting in the new tank. So
Or more.
probably
Besides, he's gonna ask us the other half of the story. Is
the leach field.
yeah. Now here's the question that Greg asked. On a perk test. I didn't know that it was coming here, but now I know it is. Is that the leach, it's a leach pit. And the pit, he said the bottom of the pit is 34 inches above what he thinks is ledge, or it could be rock. In that area, there certainly are big rocks, but right across from that, Andrik is smashing rocks to make, lead to make trap rock. So there's also rock in there. And I told Greg that it wouldn't surprise me that the Board of Health would be saying, looking down at the bottom of a hole, at the bottom of a leach pit, on some wavy rock, that saying that it really is 34 inches and not 36 inches and replace it, that the board is very likely to say, you can't measure it that closely. And that we think that's 36 inches.
The thing is, he's saying where rock is. Did he opine as to where the water table is?
Oh, he didn't say it, that there was water table above the rock.
Well, the
I
water
don't
table
believe,
has
what
to
did
be
you
above
see?
the rock. Unless the rock has tremendous fractures in it, which is possible in that area.
Or in the event that it's a stone,
Yeah.
and then, Lee, when you were looking into there, what did you think?
Well, there is a drive into his property.
Well, I
There
can't
is a,
clearly.
on the
Yes.
driveway going into his property, there's a, hand dug well, and the water table was measured. The well's on the adjacent neighbor's property. We pulled the cover off and put a tape down there. No one uses that well. It was used for irrigation of a garden. But that water table went right back to the 34 to 35 inch measurement for sure under that system.
Oh,
Let me get this right then. This is an old leach pit. How deep is the leach pit? How many feet roughly?
Oh jeepers, we were up on a rise, maybe 6 or 7 feet up.
Or so there's probably a foot of cover over the leach pit. Then the leach pit is 7 feet deep.
Oh, the leach pit itself was about 7 feet higher than the driveway where the hand dug well is.
Hmm.
It's surrounded by concrete tiles 4 foot across. And as you walk towards the guy's house, the hill increases as you walk up it by about 7 feet. So the leach pit total depth is maybe around, oh jeepers. Greg has a measurement of it. It's probably around 4.5 or 5 feet down total.
So it looks like
to the top of it, Lee?
The bottom of the pit.
so undulating property. You got a lot of elevation change on this property then.
Yes.
I don't know.
But for sure, we're in the 34 inch or more range.
Well, the question is, when you opened up the leach pit, was it empty or how much water was in the leach pit when
He
you
said there
opened
was
it?
only 6 inches of water in it.
Wow.
There wasn't much water.
Because, DEP failure criterion for leach pits, believe it or not, they can have water up to within 6 inches of the inlet, believe it or
Yeah,
not. They
so
can
this
be
one you
almost full and still pass.
This was quite a bit lower than that for sure.
Wow. So hydraulically, it's fine then.
My feeling would be as soon as you say, Lee, 34 or more, I'm going in and measuring
But
that.
My rule of thumb is round it to the nearest foot.
Well, you can't do that, but it's certainly if you look and say, if he's playing around with 2 inches, then this is dirt and a little rock. And I think my feeling was you just called it 34. It's close enough to 36 that it could have been 36.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, out of fairness, I would agree. Yes.
That's right. That's right.
So, okay, so that one we're saying replace the tank, but the leach field's okay.
Okay.
And I'm getting at the spot where it's after 10 and I'm not okay anymore.
Is this for the house one or both? Which one is the tank being replaced? Both?
The house system is new. This is for the garage with
The
a,
garage, replace the
Yeah.
tank at
yeah,
the garage.
with the, yeah, yes.
So we accepted the house, but the garage is gonna end up needing a new.
New tank. Okay, got it.
That's-
Got it.
That's correct.
Okay.
We probably I'm gonna ask that we at least do something on the rod and glove gun at the gun and bow club. Is that what it is?
Yeah, Granby Bow and Gun.
Okay. And my suggestion, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me.
Goes in tight.
Bless you.
My suggestion is that according to the papers, that we've got the Belchertown Board of Selectmen. I think and we certainly have a letter from Steve Williams saying he wanted to be now involved with the bullets in Belchertown. I've read that the district attorney's office is involved. The two police departments are involved. The state police are involved. That we have plenty of involvement right now with elected and police officials and legal officials, that the Granby Board of Health intervention at this point is going to be counterproductive, and we should let the people that are actively working on it bring it to some kind of a conclusion, and then if we choose that we need to intervene at a later date, we can. What do you guys think about
I would agree. We don't have the background or expertise in this endeavor to help in the investigation.
I agree. I don't think we bring a lot to the table, frankly. You know, I know we're all concerned and I'm sure we can come up with ideas, but at this point, we don't bring a lot to the table. Let's let these folks take a crack at it and see if they can come up with a solution.
it? So we're all in
Yeah.
agreement.
Yeah.
Good. With that, I think we should all head to bed.
Very, very good.
I can't tell you have to go. I can't tell you have to go to bed. I don't tell you the time, but
I do. It is my bedtime.
It is
Okay.
past my bedtime.
That makes all four of us.
okay.
All right.
Okay. Good night.
Okay, well done. Thank you all. All the
Good
best.
night.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.